You'd think a doctor keeps you in the hospital because you're actually sick.
Right.
But looking through some of these SEC filings, federal audits, and civil court dockets, it turns out your discharge date might have a lot more to do with your insurance maximums than your mental health.
Oh, absolutely.
So welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking what happens when corporate finance fundamentally alters psychiatric care, basically turning patients into, well, commodified financial assets.
And right out of the gate, the foundational metric driving this entire system is known in the industry as the heads in beds model.
Heads as beds.
Exactly. In a for-profit behavioral health setting, profitability is just a really simple equation. You maximize the number of admitted patients, and then you maximize their length of stay.
Okay, wait, let me unpack this for a second. If a hospital is literally holding people just to drain their insurance coverage, how does the insurance company not catch on to the fact that everyone miraculously gets better the exact day their benefits run out?
Well, because the clinical paperwork is engineered to justify it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, take Universal Health Services, UHS, they're one of the largest chains out there. They paid a $122 million settlement after whistleblowers came forward.
Wait, $122 million?
Yeah, massive, right.
Yeah.
Because they revealed that staff were systematically directed to exaggerate symptoms. Like an intake worker would label a mildly depressed patient as actively suicidal simply to clear that initial insurance admission hurdle.
That's just what? So they just lie on the intake form.
Right, and then they'd hold those medically cleared patients on locked wards until that insurance money ran completely dry.
So the entire operational structure is just built to feed the billing cycle.
Exactly.
But maximizing profit isn't just about revenue, right? It's about minimizing overhead. So how does that mandate translate to the actual floor of a psychiatric ward?
It translates to severe understaffing, which fundamentally breaks down basic facility safety. If you look at the federal data for Virginia's Poplar Springs Hospital, they were routinely missing mandatory 15-minute observation checks for highly acute patients.
Just because they didn't have the staff?
Exactly. They didn't have the bodies on the floor.
Yeah.
And the direct result was patients attempting suicide on the ward. Or, look at Cumberland Hospital. They faced massive lawsuits over systemic sexual abuse by their medical director.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me, though. I imagine massive healthcare corporations usually just hide behind medical malpractice caps to avoid paying for that kind of negligence, right? Like, state laws usually protect them from huge payouts.
They do, yeah. And psychiatric malpractice is notoriously difficult to prove because the standard of care can be highly subjective in a courtroom.
Right, it's not like a botched surgery.
Exactly. So plaintiffs got creative. They started bypassing medical malpractice entirely and suing under general premises liability.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, arguing, you failed to provide a physically secure building. Or they used the Consumer Protection Act.
Wait, like false advertising?
Yes. Claiming the hospital's marketing materials that promised a safe, therapeutic environment were actively deceptive.
That makes total sense. It's much easier to prove a door was left unlocked or a marketing brochure lied than to debate the nuances of subjective psychiatric care.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when you realize what's actually happening on these chronically understaffed wards to maintain control.
Right.
Because without the staff to provide genuine, time-intensive psychotherapy, these facilities resort to blunt mechanisms of mass control.
Which means what, exactly?
Specifically chemical restraints.
Mm-hmm.
They rely heavily on rapid-acting antipsychotics and heavy sedatives.
Is that entirely because of the cost difference?
Is the underlying financial mechanics of the treatment, yeah. Reimbursing a licensed therapist for an hour of intensive verbal de-escalation, well, that cuts deeply into profit margins. Conversely, a single injection is vastly cheaper in terms of labor overhead, and it instantly restricts movement, which keeps the ward quiet.
Wow. But to keep this whole machine running, you need a constant pipeline of new patients. If they're essentially just warehousing people, how do they, justify keeping the beds full?
Well, by actively pathologizing normal behavior. The data shows subjective diagnoses, like oppositional defiant disorder or ODD, are increasingly weaponized just to maintain census numbers.
Wait, really? How does that work?
So, for example, if a teenager in a strict religious environment displays intellectual autonomy, say by refusing a sacrament like confirmation, it's not viewed as philosophical dissent.
It's treated as a medical issue.
Exactly. It is mapped directly onto the behavioral criteria of ODD.
So what does this all mean? Like, are there historical parallels to this? Redefining teenage boundary setting as a medical condition feels like a dangerous, slippery slope.
It is a profound shift in the power of diagnosis. We actually saw this historically in the Soviet Union.
Oh, right.
Yeah, authorities use the diagnosis of sluggish schizophrenia to neutralize political dissidents. They basically just labeled theological or political dissent as a mental illness.
So we're seeing a modern version of that.
Right. Today, in certain for-profit institutional settings, we're seeing ideological or moral non-compliance recoded as a psychiatric disorder. It invalidates the teenager's intellectual autonomy, and it legally justifies locking them into a highly lucrative behavioral modification program.
Wow. So you've now seen how powerful profit motives can fundamentally distort clinical triage, staffing models, and really even the definition of sanity itself.
The clinical reality just becomes entirely secondary to the financial variables.
Which leaves you with this thought to mull over. If ordinary adolescent rebellion can be medically coded as a severe psychiatric disorder just to feed a corporate billing cycle, what other everyday human emotions are being quietly redefined right now, simply to invent a new, highly profitable market?